Right, welcome Andy to Life's a Journey, the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. So for people who don't know Andy, Dr. Happy.
Doctor of Happiness,
Dr.
my friend.
Happiness.
Yeah.
You're doing a wonderful festival today, Festival of Happiness. You're an author as well.
Yeah.
So let the audience know a little bit more about who Andy is.
Okay. So Andy, I am the UK's first ever Doctor of Happiness. So I spent the last 12 years at Loughborough University researching a subject called positive psychology, which is basically the science of happiness, science of wellbeing. So what I've been doing for about 12 years is seeking out happy people, following them around, trying to work out why they're so happy, and that comes into a big thesis, like full of big words. But if you lose all the big words, I'm doing what you're doing, is we're trying to get people to feel amazing. And so my thing on The Art of Being Brilliant and in all the books is about distilling get all the rubbish out of the academia and boil it down to what can we do to feel amazing. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes that's against the odds, because the modern world, whether you're a teenager, whether you're 51 like me, it's fast and it's full on and it's exhausting, and most people are a million miles away from feeling as great as they could. So that intrigues me. It's like, what's going on with happy people that's not going on with everybody else?
So what would you say now is that, because I've got my own opinions, what's the difference now between your generation and the next generation?
Yeah, well,
and what's getting in the way of them being happy?
It's easy, because if you go in schools, and we deliver, I know you deliver in schools, we deliver in schools as well. And it's very easy to label social media and say that's the issue or whatever. And I'm not sure. I think it's habits of thinking and habits of. I do think the modern world is great, and I love the modern world, but it does rob you of your happiness. When I was at school, mate, I'm old and crusty, but when I was at school, not a single person in my school had depression or panic attacks or anxiety or school phobia. They hadn't been invented, and therefore I can't work out. I'm not having a go at the young generation, whether the young generation have genuinely got more on their plate and life is full on, or whether they're more brittle. And I'm not sure, but I think there's certainly mental strategies that you can learn that will enable you to be more resilient. And I'm okay with having a bad day. Everybody can have a bad day or a bad week, but there's too many people having a bad life and being a very average kind of black and white version of themselves rather than this kind of full colour thing. So what I tell my audiences is, and mostly the adults, I say the average lifespan is 4,000 weeks. Right, now if you announce that to a bunch of kids, they're like, yeah, that's a long time, it's like forever. But if you announce it to a corporate audience, people like me, they're like, oh my gosh, right, really? Some of them are working out how many they've got left. And I think that where positive psychology comes in, what you do and what I do is like making I don't know how many weeks I've got left, mate, but I want to make a bit of a dent in the universe. And everybody does really, but we forget. Along the way we forget.
You still forget, and I think there is a lot of pressure, and I know this is my opinion on what I've seen with the children, and I do a lot of one-on-one work with young people as well. Social anxiety is through the roof. Because they're not comparing themselves to the little group of friends anymore, they're comparing themselves to the whole world. So in terms of your journey, so now you're Dr. Happy, what was the journey for you?
The journey was long and
where did it start?
I used to deliver a subject called psychology. So when I was at uni, I learned psychology. And psychology, for anybody who doesn't know, is traditional psychology is about negativity. So I learned about phobias, disorders, anxiety, depression, paranoia. I spent 3 years at uni learning about all the shit that could go wrong with your life. And then we'd either give people medication or give them therapy to make them better. And that's all well and good, and that's really, really valuable. But psychology, I think, has missed a trick, because we've never studied happy people. So never ever in the history of psychology we've never studied people who are already happy. Well, psychology's missed a big trick, because I get that we study negative people and then give them some medication to make them better, but what if we studied people who are already feeling amazing? Wouldn't there be sort of stuff we could learn from? So who are they? I wanted to learn from who they are, happy people. Who are they? Because all your listeners, they won't be able to think of that many people in their life who are genuinely upbeat. Who are they? What are they doing that allows them to feel so amazing? And thirdly, most importantly, what can we learn from them that we can then put into practice so that we can be one? And I know a lot of your viewers and listeners are young people. Their whole life stretching ahead of them. If you take this on, it's very much a learned behaviour. This kind of being a better version of yourself. And if you do it, then it's a game changer, because if you do it for a day, upgrade yourself just for a day, you'll feel amazing. But if you learned it and you stuck at it, there's a thing, if you're 14, I say to the class, what does practice make? And they go, perfect. I go, no. Practice makes permanent. Right? So the more that you change your thinking, the more that you stick at it, the more it literally rewires your brain circuitry, and you start to become a better version of you.
And I think it's so important that it's something that I teach the children, and one of my things is the power of your brain and going to the science of it. And I say you only remember 20% of what you read. and then it makes no sense that when they're sat there looking at a screen and they go, I don't get it. It's like because your brain's only taking in 20%, and you teach them all the different things, and that's when kids really start to see a shift in terms of there's a science behind it. It's not just
it's proper science. And having spent 12 years interviewing happy people, then what I found was very early on, right, remember, in 12 years interviewing happy people, I found out within the first month that they have the same stuff in their life that I have. They've got Brexit and Trump, and we're going to just take a break.
Right,
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Live. Go on, sign.
Yeah, sorry. Book signing. Oh, come on now. You see, that's how famous I am. Book
this
signing.
Is how famous he is. Come in.
That's right.
We're sign it. No, I'm sorry.
Right. I was going to say that. I think the starting point for happiness for me is an understanding that happiness isn't real. Right, and what I mean by that is that happiness isn't a thing. So it's not got a shape and a mass and a form, and you can't put it in a wheelbarrow. It's not got a mass to it. Happiness is it's a feeling, so it's an emotion, and therefore there's only one place your happiness can ever come from, and that's your thinking, right? And I know it's like a bit weird, but so. Therefore, happy people, all they've got really is they live in the same world, the same Brexit, the same Trump, the same all this nonsense, but they're thinking differently. So they're processing the world differently. So all the brain stuff you're doing makes perfect sense because it literally will rewire your brain. But it takes a bit of effort to be yourself at your best. Yeah. And it's very easy to conform and do what everybody else. If everybody else is moaning, everybody else is grumbling about things, and even as a human being, we feel compelled to join in. We feel like, as a gregarious person, you want to be part of a team, a tribe, a clan, a community. And therefore you want to do what everybody else is doing. Now, everybody else is being negative, it's very easy to do what everybody else is doing. And I think fitting in is really easy, but standing out is your long-term advantage, and that's standing out at being the best version of you. And that's what we teach people, and that's what I've been spent 12 years.
I say this to the kids, I'm like, if you think you were your thoughts, then who's listening? And I say that a lot to people because I say we get mixed up between fear and love, and that's what and I'd like to get your case on this and with the kids. And I describe fear to the kids as there's one thing that fear is trying to do, and that's to protect your heart. So you don't want to put your hand up because it tells you might get hurt. You might not want to go and speak to someone because and that's what fear is there to do, protect your heart. But your heart is you, and our brain's different. I say your brain's not you. Your brain's a tool. Your heart is who you are as a person, kind, loving, caring, and that's how I describe it as the kids.
Like it, yeah.
So what's your take on the whole kind of spiritual intelligence? Who you are? Are you the brain? Are you? You are
your thoughts, basically. I think there's a physical you. You're about trillions of cells stuck together to create you.
Yeah.
But the real you in your head is the thoughts. Yeah. That's it. That's your consciousness. Yeah. And that's the same. Without getting too deep into this.
Oh yeah.
That's basically it.
Yeah.
And you are creating everything in your life is created by you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into how that works because we're going to need another hour and a quarter to do that.
It'd be a great conversation.
Oh wow! It would blow your mind. Actually, I know some stuff on the edges of believability that blow my mind, and I don't want to go there. I don't want viewers thinking this is he's some sort of weirdo, right? But I tell you what, when you study psychology, you learn about attachment disorders. So that means that if you've not got secure attachment with your parents or the people you care about, is that for always you're going to be a bit jumpy in life and you're not going to feel very safe. But I think the biggest attachment you need to create is with yourself, and you've got to be your own best mate, really, not love yourself as in I'm the greatest.
Yeah, because kids sometimes say, "Oh, I'm not being egotistical."
No, it's not that. It's not egotistical, but it's about having the voice in your head that recognises that you're not an idiot and you have got some strengths and you are a good person, and your brain has this thing called negativity bias, which means that it's always predisposed to looking at bad stuff, which is why one bad lesson ruins your day, or if you're an adult, one bad driver ruins your commute.
And why is that? Why does it do that?
Yeah, because of what you said earlier. Fear and negativity saves your life. So if you hear a car horn and some screeching tyres, you will leap out of the way because your adrenaline kicks in, and that'll save your life. Now, happiness doesn't save your life. It enriches it, but it doesn't save it. And therefore, because it's not a lifesaver, we're not focused on it. So we're focused on bad stuff because by avoiding bad stuff, it saves your life. And therefore, because evolution has done that to us, that's why you notice bad stuff all the time, and we don't notice good stuff. So actually retraining that brain and, like I say, rewiring it is really, it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would be happy, and they're not. Have a look around. There's not many happy people.
What's your? Because I know that if you start your morning right, it's going to set you up better. So what's Dr. Happy's morning?
Nice one, mate.
Morning routine.
My life changed in 2008, right? The biggest single thing that my happy people do is they consciously and deliberately choose to have a positive mindset. It's a positive attitude. Right now, that's kind of sounds really, really obvious, but most people aren't doing it. Only 2% of the population are consistently getting out of bed and choosing to be positive. Now, I didn't know you could make a choice, but anyway, in 2008, I was reading a book. One of the first sentences, self-help book. One of the first sentences said, and it's going to sound a bit weird, but it said, what you need to do is wake up in the morning being really grateful that you've not got toothache. And I can remember thinking, I'm not sure, it sounds a bit weird, but I'll give it a go. And I didn't just do it once, I did it every single day for a whole year. Now, and it doesn't mean that I leap out of bed going, yeah, I still get out of bed like everybody else, my hair's all over the place, I'm half asleep. But every single day for a whole year, as my foot hit the carpet, I would go, oh my gosh, here we go again, but hang on. Woo, no toothache, fantastic. So because I've not got toothache, straight away I feel great. I've got the energy of two people. When my kids came down for breakfast, I've got some music on, serving the Cheerios with a smile. So my kids went off to school happier because Dad was happier. I was happy because I didn't have toothache, and nobody knew because it was entirely played out in my head. Did that for a year, and I woke up. I properly came alive.
Wow.
My career, my relationships went off the scale. So the next year I thought I've got to keep it going, and all I did is I upgraded it from toothache to kidneys. So I'd get out of bed and give my kidneys a rub. Right? I know it sounds weird, but just try it.
No,
give your kidneys a rub and give it a go. Oh, you little rascal, still functioning. Thanks, kidneys. And now I don't have to do that anymore. Remember, practice makes permanent. Right? But I had to do it for about a year and a half before it became ingrained in my thinking.
But I can imagine subconsciously now you wake up and you have a natural sense of
I feel amazing. I feel amazing. It's gratitude. That's exactly it. It's not about toothache and kidneys, really. It's about the realisation of those 4,000 weeks that I'm 51, mate, right? I'm old. and what I've realised is one day I won't be able to get out of bed. One day I'm going to be too ill or too old. And actually, what I'm really saying is that while I can get out of bed, I may as well get out of bed like I really mean it. And simply by inserting, I know it sounds such a trivial thing, but most people hit the snooze button and try and get another 9 minutes and 59 seconds of sleep before they drag their ass out of bed. And I used to do that as well, but not anymore. Being fit and able-bodied enough to get out of bed at all is the best thing ever.
Why change? Why go from someone who wasn't doing it to doing it? Because there was a changing point. Why did you decide, you know what? I need to change. I need to try this.
I think I knew that by interviewing happy people, the choice to be positive was a really big deal, but I didn't know how to do that. So I think reading that sentence just helped me do the biggest single thing that happy people do. And it's not a choice to be happy. There's a kind of technical point here. Is happy people don't choose to be happy. Happiness is an emotion, so you can't choose happiness. You can open up to it and allow it in and recognise it when it's there. But positivity is not an emotion. It's an attitude, and therefore it's more control. It's something that is in your control. So you can't choose to be happy, but you can choose to be positive. And by choosing to be positive, it gives you a better chance of being happy. So those two are kind of quite closely related.
Being grateful, that's it. You can't be grateful and negative at the same time.
No. Well, if your listeners, if they write down, get a pen and paper, write down 10 things that you've got in your life that you're lucky to have, what you take for granted. Or write 20 things, and I already know what will be on the top. It'll be health, and it'll be people, and then it'll be weird stuff like democracy and running water and food and having a duvet and
no toothache.
So no toothache, and having a national health service. Right?
Yeah.
So what most people do is they spend their life moaning about what they haven't got, but gratitude teaches you to be more grateful for what you have got. So just look at your list of 20 when you get out of bed and go, look at me with no toothache and democracy and driving licence and what are we moaning about? Why is everybody grumbling about everything?
I know.
I mean, it's potholes around my way at the moment. Potholes.
They test you.
Well, the news is that we're having a rant. I come from Derby. Everything in the news. Potholes. You go on the news and there's people emailing about potholes. I'm like, come on, get over it, move on. Is that really?
Is that really what
we're focusing on?
Yeah. Amazing. Right. Last question then. If you were to go back to being a young man, let's say 15, 16, you're about to start your whole life again.
Yeah.
Your whole memory is wiped. You've got nothing apart from taking one piece of wisdom with you for the rest of your journey. What would it be?
I think it would be something that I was a mile away from when I was 15, and that is the moment and the now thing. The being in the moment.
Only ever now.
You only ever got the present moment, and it's a difficult one to grasp. So quite often I forget it. But what we mean by that is that life is just a series of nows. It's just a series of moments. So all the stuff you got in your history, you can only access those thoughts from now, from this present moment. And all the dreams you've got of the future doesn't exist, because when you get to the future, it will be now. It will be the present moment. So it's like, once you get your head around it, because what in the modern world, what it tries to do is make you dissatisfied with the present moment. So you've got to get to the next moment that's going to be better. So therefore, you're not happy now, but I'll be happy in the next moment or the moment after that.
That's what social media is doing.
Yeah, social media does that well. And actually, if you appreciate that all you've got is the moment, then stop being unhappy with now and just soak it up. Soak up this now, because it's going to be great, and the next one's going to be great as well. So I would say to my 15-year-old self, just be a bit more present.
Thank you very much for your time.
Hey, thanks for having me, fella. Cheers, mate. Cheers.